So, a secret recording has just surfaced that allegedly captures Donald Trump in a private conversation with a foreign leader discussing sensitive classified information and what sources are describing as a potential quid-pro-quo arrangement. And according to multiple reports breaking in the last hour, the FBI has already opened an investigation into whether Trump violated federal laws governing unauthorized disclosure of national defense information and illegal coordination with foreign governments. The recording, which was reportedly made by intelligence services of a U.S. ally and shared with American authorities, allegedly contains Trump discussing U.S. military capabilities, intelligence gathering methods, and strategic plans in exchange for what one source described as political assistance and financial arrangements with a foreign government. And here's what makes this even more explosive. According to Politico's reporting from just 47 minutes ago, the conversation allegedly took place after Trump left office, but before he announced his 2024 campaign, meaning Trump had no official capacity or security clearance at the time, but was apparently still treating classified information as his personal property to trade. It's honestly hard to believe we're watching yet another massive security breach scandal involving Trump and classified information. But multiple sources across different news organizations are now confirming that this recording exists, that federal investigators are treating it as credible, and that the content is potentially more damaging than anything that came out in the classified documents case. This isn't just about Trump being careless with sensitive information or keeping documents he shouldn't have. We're talking about an alleged recording of Trump actively sharing classified intelligence with a foreign government and potentially negotiating some kind of arrangement in exchange. If verified, this would represent one of the most serious national security breaches by a former president in American history, potentially crossing the line into espionage-related offenses. And trust me, when former intelligence officials start using phrases like catastrophic security compromise and potential espionage, you know this goes way beyond the typical Trump scandal. This is about whether a former president actively betrayed national security interests for personal gain, and whether he did it all while being recorded by a foreign intelligence service that could now use that recording for blackmail or leverage. Let me fill you in on what's been happening. So, according to CNN's breaking report from 6:43 p.m. tonight, the recording allegedly came to light through intelligence sharing channels between the United States and a close NATO ally. Sources indicate it's likely one of the Five Eyes partners, possibly the UK or Australia, though that hasn't been officially confirmed. The Allied Intelligence Service reportedly intercepted or received the recording during routine monitoring of the foreign leader's communications. When analysts reviewed the recording and realized it contained a voice matching Trump's discussing what appeared to be classified U.S. intelligence, they immediately flagged it for their American counterparts. The recording allegedly reached the FBI's counterintelligence division in late October, according to sources speaking to the Washington Post. FBI officials initially weren't sure if the recording was authentic. Trump's voice has been deepfaked before, and foreign intelligence services sometimes receive fabricated materials. But according to multiple sources familiar with the investigation, the FBI conducted voice analysis, brought in experts who have studied Trump's speech patterns and vocabulary, and cross-referenced details mentioned in the conversation with classified intelligence that Trump would have had access to during his presidency. The conclusion, according to these sources, was that the recording is almost certainly authentic. The voice patterns match Trump's distinctively. The content includes specific details about classified programs and operations that wouldn't be available to someone creating a fake recording. And perhaps most tellingly, the conversation includes personal details and references that are consistent with Trump's known relationships and business dealings. From the beginning, Trump's relationship with classified information has been catastrophically reckless. During his presidency, he disclosed classified intelligence to Russian officials in the Oval Office. He tweeted satellite imagery that revealed intelligence capabilities. He discussed sensitive military operations at his Mar-a-Lago resort within earshot of members and guests. Intelligence officials spent 4 years trying to limit what information Trump received in briefings because they feared he would compromise sources and methods. Whether it was his casual discussion of nuclear submarine capabilities with Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt, his revelation of Israeli intelligence to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, or his decision to keep boxes of the nation's most sensitive classified documents in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, Trump really cemented himself as someone who views classified information as personal property to use, share, or leverage, however benefits him personally, regardless of national security consequences. But here's where things get interesting. We're now approximately 6 weeks into what sources describe as an intense FBI counterintelligence investigation that has already involved interviews with former Trump administration officials, review of Trump's communications and travel records from the relevant time period, and coordination with the intelligence agencies whose classified programs were allegedly discussed in the recording. According to MSNBC's reporting from 7:15 p.m., investigators are trying to determine several key questions. What specific classified information did Trump disclose? How did he still have access to that information after leaving office? What did the foreign leader offer in exchange? And critically, did Trump's discussion of classified information lead to any intelligence being compromised or any sources or methods being exposed? This investigation is unfolding because Trump's pattern of treating the presidency as a personal branding opportunity and classified information as a bargaining chip has apparently continued even after he left office. And guess who's stuck right in the middle of this mess? Yep, Trump's legal team, which is now scrambling to get ahead of what multiple sources describe as a recording that could be legally catastrophic for Trump. Trump's lawyers are supposed to be defending him on existing classified documents charges while also preparing for his return to the presidency. But here's the kicker. If this recording is as damaging as sources suggest, it could represent an entirely new criminal case involving the Espionage Act, potentially illegal coordination with a foreign government, and possible violations of the Logan Act, which prohibits private citizens from conducting foreign policy. And before we go any further, let's be real for a second. Former officials and private citizens discuss foreign policy all the time. Former presidents often maintain relationships with foreign leaders and weigh in on international issues. That's not illegal or even unusual. What is illegal is discussing classified national defense information with foreign governments when you're a private citizen with no security clearance and no official role. What is potentially criminal is negotiating arrangements with foreign governments that could affect U.S. policy in exchange for personal benefits. That's exactly what this recording allegedly captures. Now, back to the matter at hand. Reports from multiple news organizations within the past 2 hours have revealed just how damaging the content of this recording allegedly is. According to the New York Times reporting at 7:52 p.m., citing sources who have been briefed on the recording's content, Trump allegedly discussed specific details about U.S. intelligence operations targeting a third country. Sources indicate it may have been China or Iran, including information about human intelligence sources, signals intelligence capabilities, and specific operational details that would be classified at the highest levels. Trump allegedly told the foreign leader, in language described as shockingly explicit, about intelligence gathering methods that the United States was using, essentially compromising those operations and potentially putting sources at risk. According to one source who spoke to NBC News, Trump was essentially showing off, trying to demonstrate that he still had access to sensitive information and that he was still important and in the know, even though he was no longer president. Talk about reckless endangerment of national security for ego gratification. Essentially, sources are describing Trump acting like he was still president with full access to classified intelligence, when in reality he was a private citizen with no security clearance discussing some of the nation's most closely guarded secrets with a foreign government. And this wasn't a private conversation that accidentally got overheard. According to CBS News' reporting from 8:04 p.m., the conversation allegedly took place during a phone call that Trump initiated with the foreign leader. Trump apparently called from Mar-a-Lago using either his personal cell phone or a landline at the resort. Investigators are still trying to determine which to have this conversation that the foreign leader's intelligence service was monitoring. This revelation sent shockwaves through the national security community because it raised all sorts of questions. If Trump was casually calling foreign leaders from unsecured lines at Mar-a-Lago to discuss classified information, how many other such conversations happened? Which other foreign intelligence services might have recordings of Trump? And what kind of leverage or blackmail material might adversaries have accumulated by monitoring Trump's communications? Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Trump's reckless handling of classified information blow up into major scandals and investigations. Trump's approach to classified information has always been transactional and self-serving. He views sensitive intelligence not as sacred national security assets to be carefully protected, but as personal assets he can use to impress people, advance his interests, or demonstrate his importance. Whenever national security interests conflict with Trump's personal ego or business interests, national security loses. We've spotted this pattern time and time again throughout his presidency and after. Just think about what happened with the Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt. According to reports that emerged in September 2023, Trump allegedly told Pratt, a foreign national with no security clearance, detailed information about U.S. nuclear submarines, including how close they could get to Russian submarines without being detected. This was extraordinarily sensitive classified information about one of America's most critical strategic assets. Trump apparently shared it to impress a billionaire at Mar-a-Lago. Pratt then allegedly shared that information with dozens of other people, including foreign nationals and potential business partners. The compromise of that intelligence potentially undermined billions of dollars in submarine technology investments and gave adversaries insight into U.S. capabilities. Then there was the Oval Office meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak in May 2017. Trump disclosed classified intelligence about ISIS that had been provided by Israel, including details that reportedly allowed the Russians to potentially identify Israeli sources and methods. The disclosure was so damaging that Israel reportedly restricted intelligence sharing with the United States afterward, and U.S. intelligence officials had to brief Israeli counterparts to apologize and explain what happened. Trump compromised a critical intelligence partnership with one of America's closest allies just to show off to Russian officials. And let's not forget the infamous tweet where Trump posted a classified satellite image of an Iranian missile facility. The image was so high resolution that it revealed U.S. intelligence capabilities that had been closely guarded secrets. Intelligence professionals immediately recognized that Trump had just shown adversaries exactly what U.S. satellites could see, potentially allowing enemies to better hide their activities. Trump tweeted classified intelligence to win a news cycle, never considering the operational security implications. Even more egregiously, there was Trump's discussion of sensitive military operations within earshot of Mar-a-Lago members and guests. When North Korea conducted a missile test in February 2017, Trump held an impromptu national security meeting in the Mar-a-Lago dining room, surrounded by club members taking photos. Sensitive military information was discussed openly while waiters served dinner and guests watched. One Mar-a-Lago member literally posted photos on social media of Trump receiving classified briefings, including identifying the military officer carrying the nuclear football. Now, it looks like Trump continued this catastrophic pattern of compromising classified information even after leaving office, and this time it was recorded by a foreign intelligence service that has now shared it with U.S. law enforcement. This pattern is becoming all too familiar for anyone who's studied Trump's relationship with intelligence and national security. You can brief Trump on the most sensitive secrets, explain why they must be protected, drill into him the legal and security consequences of disclosure. But the moment Trump sees personal benefit in sharing that information, whether for ego gratification, business advantage, or political gain, he'll disclose it without a second thought about the consequences for national security, intelligence sources, or America's relationships with allies. So, What exactly did Trump allegedly discuss in this recording that has the FBI investigating potential crimes? Well, according to multiple sources, it all boils down to Trump providing what investigators believe is classified information about U.S. intelligence operations in exchange for what the foreign leader apparently offered as assistance with Trump's political and business interests. The alleged exchange happened during a phone conversation that sources tell Politico took place sometime between February and June 2023 after Trump left office, but before he officially announced his 2024 campaign. The timing is significant because it means Trump had no official role, no security clearance, and no legal authority to be discussing classified information with foreign governments, let alone negotiating any kind of arrangements. As a private citizen with business interests and political ambitions, Trump apparently decided to reach out to this foreign leader. Sources won't identify which country, but reporting suggests it's a nation that has both strategic interests that sometimes conflict with U.S. policy and significant financial resources that could benefit Trump's business empire. Trump's approach, according to sources describing the recording, was to position himself as someone who still had insider knowledge and influence over U.S. policy, someone worth cultivating and doing business with despite no longer being president. To demonstrate his value and maintain his relevance, Trump allegedly began sharing information about U.S. intelligence operations, discussing classified military capabilities, and revealing details about American strategic planning. At first, according to sources, the conversation seemed like typical Trump bragging, exaggerating his importance, claiming he still controlled Republican policy, suggesting he would definitely be president again. But then Trump apparently crossed very clear legal lines. But here's where things went from inappropriate to potentially criminal. The foreign leader, according to sources familiar with the recording, apparently expressed concerns about U.S. intelligence operations targeting his country or activities his country was engaged in. Trump allegedly responded by confirming details about those operations, discussing what the U.S. intelligence community knew, and even suggesting how the foreign government might adjust its activities to avoid U.S. detection. That's not just compromising classified information, that's potentially helping a foreign government evade U.S. intelligence surveillance. If verified, that could constitute a violation of espionage laws, even if Trump wasn't intentionally trying to harm the United States. The Espionage Act doesn't require intent to harm America. It prohibits unauthorized disclosure of national defense information to people not entitled to receive it, period. While Trump was casually discussing classified operations, apparently the foreign leader began discussing what his government might do to help Trump. According to NBC News' sources, the foreign leader allegedly mentioned potential investments in Trump properties, suggested his government could help Trump with business deals in the region, and even allegedly discussed ways his government could assist Trump's 2024 campaign through social media influence operations or financial support funneled through shell companies. Trump's response, according to sources, was enthusiastic encouragement. He allegedly discussed policy positions he would take if re-elected that would benefit this foreign government, suggested he could influence Republican policy even before the election, and encouraged the foreign leader to proceed with the suggested assistance. If accurate, this conversation would violate multiple federal laws. The Logan Act prohibits private citizens from conducting foreign policy negotiations. Campaign finance laws prohibit accepting anything of value from foreign governments. And most seriously, the Espionage Act prohibits unauthorized disclosure of classified national defense information. This was the moment when what might have been just another inappropriate Trump conversation became a federal criminal investigation. You see, intelligence agencies and the FBI take counterintelligence threats extremely seriously. When a former president discusses classified information with a foreign government and potentially negotiates quid-pro-quo arrangements, that represents one of the most serious national security threats possible. That person has had access to the nation's deepest secrets, knows how intelligence operations work, and can cause catastrophic damage by compromising sources and methods. The fact that this conversation was recorded by a foreign intelligence service makes it even more serious. That means the foreign government has leverage over Trump. They can threaten to release the recording publicly, they can use it for blackmail, they can share it with adversarial nations. Trump essentially handed a foreign government compromat that they can use to manipulate or pressure him. And then the Allied intelligence service that received or intercepted the recording made the critical decision to share it with U.S. authorities instead of keeping it for their own intelligence purposes or leverage. The Allied government's decision to provide the recording to the FBI, according to sources, came after analysts assessed that the content was so damaging to U.S. national security and potentially criminal that they had an obligation to inform American law enforcement. According to reporting from The Guardian, the Allied government was also apparently concerned that if they didn't provide the recording to U.S. authorities, and it later emerged that they had it, it could damage the intelligence sharing relationship and make it look like the ally was complicit in hiding evidence of crimes by a former U.S. president. The FBI received the recording in late October, according to multiple sources, and immediately began the process of verifying its authenticity, while also determining what crimes, if any, it might evidence. Now, this left federal investigators in an incredibly complex position. On one side, they have what appears to be evidence of serious federal crimes by a former president who is also currently running for president again and leading in many polls. Prosecuting a presidential candidate in the middle of an election for national security crimes would be unprecedented and politically explosive. But the content is allegedly so serious that ignoring it would represent a dereliction of the FBI's duty to investigate national security threats. On the flip side, they need to verify the recording's authenticity beyond any doubt, determine exactly what classified information was compromised, assess what damage was done, identify what laws were violated, and build a prosecutable case, all while the subject is one of the most prominent political figures in America who will absolutely claim political persecution and weaponization of law enforcement. The tricky part is that investigating Trump has become politically toxic in itself. Republicans will attack any Trump investigation as illegitimate, regardless of evidence. Trump will use the investigation as a campaign talking point about being persecuted, and the FBI is still recovering from the political damage of the Mar-a-Lago search and the classified documents case. So investigators are caught in an impossible bind. They can either pursue this investigation aggressively, potentially bringing charges against Trump if the evidence supports it, which means enduring massive political attacks and accusations of election interference, even though they're just doing their jobs, investigating serious national security crimes. Or they can slow walk the investigation, wait until after the 2024 election, avoid political controversy, but potentially allow someone who compromised classified information and negotiated with foreign governments to become president again, at which point he could shut down the investigation and fire everyone involved. It's a nightmare scenario, and it's entirely of Trump's making. He created this situation by allegedly having this conversation. He put investigators in this position by apparently violating federal laws so egregiously that they can't be ignored. That's not the FBI's fault or political persecution, that's Trump's actions creating legal consequences. This whole scenario is causing absolute panic within Trump's campaign and legal team and forcing Republicans to confront another devastating national security scandal. If the FBI is actively investigating Trump for discussing classified information with a foreign government and potentially negotiating illegal arrangements, every Trump ally and Republican politician has to decide how to respond. Do they dismiss it as fake news before seeing evidence? Do they attack the FBI and intelligence agencies? Do they wait to see what the investigation reveals? Or do they finally acknowledge that Trump's reckless behavior has created legitimate national security concerns? Those Republicans who have been defending Trump's handling of classified documents, claiming the Mar-a-Lago case is political persecution, now have to explain how a recording of Trump potentially giving classified information to a foreign government fits into their narrative. It becomes much harder to claim Trump takes national security seriously when there's allegedly audio of him compromising intelligence operations. Meanwhile, Trump's base is likely to view this as yet another deep state conspiracy, another fabricated scandal designed to prevent Trump from returning to power. Trump has conditioned his supporters to automatically dismiss any negative information about him as lies and persecution. Even if the recording is played publicly, many Trump supporters will claim it's fake, taken out of context, or exaggerated. Things became even more intense when news leaked that the Justice Department is apparently holding urgent consultations about how to handle this investigation during an election season. According to CNN's reporting from 9:21 p.m., senior DOJ officials are debating whether they can ethically bring charges against Trump before the election, or whether doing so would constitute election interference even if the charges are legally justified. This is the same debate that happened during the 2016 election when the FBI was investigating Hillary Clinton's emails. Then FBI Director James Comey decided to announce the reopening of that investigation just days before the election, a decision that many believe affected the outcome. DOJ officials are desperate to avoid a repeat of that controversy, but they're also aware that this case involves much more serious allegations than Clinton's email practices. When Justice Department officials are agonizing over whether they can charge a presidential candidate with national security crimes, even when evidence apparently supports it, Trump has successfully created a situation where his political status provides a de facto shield from accountability, regardless of what crimes he may have committed. National security professionals and former intelligence officials are expressing alarm at what this recording allegedly reveals about Trump's mindset and behavior regarding classified information. According to former CIA Director John Brennan, who spoke to MSNBC tonight, if the reporting about this recording is accurate, it represents one of the most egregious breaches of national security trust by a former president in American history. Brennan specifically noted that sharing classified intelligence with foreign governments as a private citizen is not just illegal, it's potentially devastating to ongoing operations, puts sources at risk, and undermines allies' confidence in America's ability to protect shared intelligence. He pointed out that when U.S. intelligence partners see that a former president casually disclosed sensitive information to impress a foreign leader, those partners start questioning whether they can trust the United States with their most valuable intelligence, which damages intelligence cooperation for years or decades. Just think about that for a moment. America's closest intelligence partners, the Five Eyes nations and NATO allies, are now confronting the possibility that a former U.S. president who may become president again has been recorded compromising classified intelligence. Those allies have to make decisions about what intelligence they can safely share with the United States, knowing that a future President Trump might disclose it to adversaries or use it for personal gain. And this is coming from a former CIA director who has seen presidents from both parties handle classified information. For Brennan to describe this as one of the worst breaches ever speaks volumes about how serious intelligence professionals view this situation. Former FBI counterintelligence chief Frank Figliuzzi appeared on NBC News and stated that if Trump discussed classified information with a foreign leader after leaving office and potentially negotiated some kind of quid-pro-quo, you're looking at potential Espionage Act violations, Logan Act violations, campaign finance violations, and possibly conspiracy charges if others were involved in facilitating or covering up the conversation. When former counterintelligence officials start cataloging the multiple federal crimes that one conversation could implicate, that's the moment to really pay attention. This isn't just another Trump controversy that will blow over in a news cycle. If the reporting is accurate, this is potentially one of the most serious criminal matters involving a former president since Watergate, with implications for national security that could be even more severe. And then Warren Buffett, who has now broken his usual silence on Trump-related controversies twice in recent weeks, issued another statement through Berkshire Hathaway this evening. According to Bloomberg's reporting at 9:47 p.m., Buffett stated, "When intelligence professionals from allied nations feel compelled to share evidence of potential crimes by a former U.S. president with American law enforcement, rather than keeping it for their own purposes, that tells you something about how serious the evidence must be. In business, when partners bring you evidence that your CEO is compromising company secrets to competitors, you investigate immediately. National security should work the same way." Coming from Buffett, that's an extraordinary statement. He's essentially saying that the Allied Intelligence Service providing this recording to the FBI is itself evidence of how damaging the content must be. They wouldn't burn that kind of intelligence asset unless they believed the crimes were serious enough to warrant it. That's a devastating assessment from someone whose judgment is respected worldwide and who has no partisan axe to grind. Legal experts are noting that we haven't seen an investigation into potential espionage-related offenses by a former president with this kind of direct evidence and actual recording in American history. According to former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner, who spoke to multiple news outlets tonight, the existence of a recording transforms this from a he said, she said situation into a case where jurors could actually hear Trump's voice discussing classified information and potentially negotiating illegal arrangements. If prosecutors have an authenticated recording, Kirshner noted, that's as close to a slam dunk case as you can get in a criminal prosecution. The defendant can't claim he was misquoted or taken out of context. The jury hears exactly what he said. Kirshner pointed out that in the classified documents case, prosecutors have had to rely on witness testimony, documents, and circumstantial evidence about Trump's intent and knowledge. But with a recording, Trump's own words establish what he knew, what he disclosed, and what he was trying to accomplish. That makes the prosecution exponentially stronger if charges are brought. Former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman went even further, stating on CNN that if this recording contains what's being reported Trump discussing classified intelligence operations and negotiating some kind of arrangement with a foreign government, you're looking at potential life imprisonment under the Espionage Act. These are the most serious national security crimes in federal law. When prosecutors who handled Watergate start comparing this potential case to the most serious national security prosecutions in American history, that indicates we're in unprecedented territory where a former president may have crossed lines that even Richard Nixon didn't approach. So, let's break down what this recording and investigation could mean, because it's not just a dramatic intelligence story. It has profound consequences for national security, for Trump's legal exposure, for the 2024 election, and for how allies and adversaries view America's ability to protect its secrets. First up is the immediate national security fallout. If Trump discussed specific intelligence operations, sources, and methods with a foreign government, the U.S. intelligence community now has to assume those operations are compromised. That means shutting down operations, extracting or protecting sources who might be at risk, changing collection methods that may have been exposed, and conducting damage assessments to determine what the adversary now knows. This is enormously expensive and operationally devastating. Intelligence operations take years to develop. Human sources are cultivated over months or years of careful relationship building. Technical collection capabilities represent billions of dollars in investment. If Trump burned those operations with one careless conversation, the damage to U.S. intelligence capabilities could be severe and long-lasting. The damage extends beyond the specific operations Trump allegedly discussed. Every ally that shares intelligence with the United States now has to reassess whether that intelligence will be protected or whether a future President Trump might disclose it to adversaries. Intelligence sharing is based on trust that sensitive information will be safeguarded. Trump has systematically destroyed that trust, first during his presidency and now apparently afterward. And honestly, that undermines America's most critical national security asset, the intelligence partnerships with allies that give the U.S. visibility into threats worldwide. If allies stop sharing their best intelligence because they don't trust the United States to protect it, America becomes blind to threats, terrorist plots, adversary activities, and emerging dangers. Democrats and national security-focused Republicans are already preparing to make Trump's reckless handling of classified information a central campaign theme. They'll argue that Trump has proven he cannot be trusted with the nation's secrets, that he views classified information as personal property to trade or show off, and that giving him access to intelligence again would be catastrophic for national security. They'll point to this alleged recording as the ultimate proof that Trump's recklessness isn't just about document storage at Mar-a-Lago, it's about him actively discussing classified operations with foreign governments for personal gain. They'll have former intelligence officials from both parties warning about the damage Trump could do with another 4 years of access to the most sensitive secrets. You can expect this alleged recording, if it becomes public or if charges are brought, to dominate campaign messaging and ads focused on national security and Trump's unfitness for office. The message will be simple. Trump sold out American intelligence to a foreign government. Can we really trust him with our secrets again? Now, let's touch on what this means for Trump's existing legal cases and potential new charges. This situation shines a massive spotlight on whether Trump will face prosecution for what might be even more serious national security crimes than the classified documents charges he's already facing. At the heart of the issue is whether discussing classified information with foreign governments after leaving office constitutes espionage or related offenses under federal law. The Espionage Act doesn't require proving that Trump intended to harm the United States. It prohibits unauthorized disclosure of national defense information to people not entitled to receive it. If Trump discussed classified intelligence operations with a foreign government without authorization, that's a violation regardless of his intent. The Logan Act issue is murkier because it's rarely prosecuted, but if Trump was negotiating arrangements with a foreign government regarding U.S. policy while a private citizen, that could violate the law prohibiting unauthorized foreign policy negotiations by private citizens. And if the foreign government offered financial or political assistance to Trump in exchange for the information, that could implicate campaign finance laws, bribery statutes, and potentially even conspiracy charges if others helped arrange or cover up the conversation. If the Justice Department brings charges based on this recording, Trump would be facing an entirely new criminal case on top of his existing 4 indictments. That would create unprecedented chaos, a presidential candidate facing trial in 5 separate criminal cases across multiple jurisdictions. The logistics alone would be nightmarish, with Trump potentially spending more time in courtrooms than on the campaign trail. So, the implications of this case reach far beyond just Trump and this specific recording. It's about establishing what consequences, if any, exist for former presidents who compromise national security for personal gain. Each time Trump has violated norms around classified information, from the Oval Office disclosure to Russians, to tweeting satellite imagery, to keeping documents at Mar-a-Lago, to now allegedly discussing operations with foreign governments he's tested. Whether there are real consequences or just political hand-wringing, if this recording is as damaging as reported and doesn't result in charges or serious consequences, Trump and future presidents will understand that classified information is essentially unprotected against misuse by powerful officials. Think about the precedent that sets. If a former president can discuss classified intelligence operations with foreign governments, potentially negotiate arrangements in exchange, and face no criminal consequences beyond political criticism, then the entire system for protecting classified information becomes meaningless at the highest levels. Why would lower-level officials face prosecution for mishandling classified information when former presidents can do far worse with impunity? Democracy and national security both rely on the principle that sensitive government information will be protected by people in positions of trust, even when they leave office. When that trust is violated for personal gain, there must be accountability, or the entire system collapses. Trump has systematically tested whether that accountability still exists, and this recording may force a final answer to that question. Looking ahead to how this affects Trump's viability as a candidate and potentially as president again, it's clear that all of this is going to have massive effects. If federal investigators conclude that Trump committed crimes and bring charges, Trump would be running for president while facing trial for potential espionage-related offenses. That's categorically different from the other cases he's facing, which Republicans have been able to dismiss as political or process crimes. It's much harder to dismiss charges based on a recording of Trump discussing classified intelligence with a foreign government as political persecution. Republicans would have to argue that prosecuting someone for giving secrets to foreign governments is illegitimate, which is a tough sell to national security-focused voters and military communities that typically support Republicans. If Trump somehow wins the presidency while facing these charges, he would presumably try to shut down the federal investigation and pardon himself or have the charges dropped. But this case involves intelligence from allied nations and cooperation between agencies. Even as president, Trump couldn't simply make the recording disappear or undo the damage to intelligence operations. The evidence would still exist, the foreign government would still have the recording, and U.S. allies would still know what Trump did. That creates a scenario where Trump takes office under the cloud of a massive national security scandal that he can't fully escape, even with presidential power. Foreign leaders would know he compromised intelligence. Intelligence officials would know they can't trust him with sensitive information. Allies would know he treats their intelligence sharing as optional when it suits his interests. So, here's the deal. A recording has surfaced allegedly capturing Trump discussing classified intelligence operations with a foreign leader and potentially negotiating assistance with his political and business interests. The FBI is investigating whether Trump violated espionage and other federal laws, and the content is reportedly so damaging that Allied intelligence services felt compelled to share it with American law enforcement. This isn't just about another Trump scandal or political controversy. It's about whether a former president actively betrayed national security interests by disclosing classified information to a foreign government for personal gain, and whether he did it while being recorded by foreign intelligence services that now potentially have blackmail material on him. If this recording is as damaging as sources indicate, and Trump avoids prosecution simply because he's running for president, then we're establishing that political candidates are above the law even for the most serious national security crimes. That would mean we've descended into a system where running for office provides immunity from accountability for betraying the nation's secrets. It's about so much more than just Trump's legal troubles. It's about whether we genuinely have a system that protects classified information and holds people accountable for compromising national security, or whether we've reached a point where former presidents can treat intelligence as personal property to trade with foreign governments without facing consequences. So, keep an eye on this. The investigation is ongoing. The recording is being analyzed. Damage assessments are being conducted. And prosecutors are making decisions about whether to bring charges against a former president for potential espionage-related offenses in the middle of a presidential campaign. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical as we learn more about what's on this recording, what damage was done to U.S. intelligence operations, and whether the Justice Department will bring charges despite the political firestorm it would create. The stakes have never been higher, the national security implications more severe, and the consequences for American democracy more profound. This is just beginning, and what happens next will determine whether national security laws apply equally to everyone, or whether political power places people above accountability for even the most serious betrayals of trust.